Nietzsche on religion. Friedrich Nietzsche is one of the most influential and controversial critics of religion in modern philosophy. Writing in the late 19th century, Nietzsche challenged the foundations of Christianity and questioned the role that religion had played in shaping Western morality, culture, and human psychology. Now, having read all his books several times, it was clear to me that Nietzsche was not simply an atheist, arguing that God does not exist. Rather, he believed that religious belief had historically structured Western values and that modern society was entering a period in which those religious foundations were collapsing. His philosophy attempted both to diagnose this crisis and to explore what might come after it. Now, I asked ChatGPT if it agreed with this analysis. Consequently, the presentation it delivered examined three key aspects of Nietzsche's view of religion. The meaning of his famous claim that God is dead, his critique of Christianity and religious morality, and his attempt to move beyond religion through the creation of new values. The most famous phrase associated with Nietzsche is the declaration that God is dead. This statement appears in The Gay Science, particularly in the famous passage known as the Madman. Nietzsche writes, "Whither is God?" he cried. "I will tell you, we have killed him, you and I. All of us are his murderers." The madman then continues, "God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him." Now, this statement is often misunderstood as a simple expression of atheism. However, Nietzsche's meaning goes much deeper. He is not claiming that a divine being has been literally died. Instead, he is arguing that the belief in the Christian God had lost its credibility in modern society. Scientific developments, historical criticism of the Bible, and the rise of modern philosophy had gradually undermined the religious worldview that once structured European culture. Nietzsche writes elsewhere in The Gay Science, "The greatest recent event, that God is dead, that the belief in the Christian God has become unbelievable, is already beginning to cast its first shadows over Europe." In other words, Nietzsche sees the death of God as a historical and cultural event, not a metaphysical argument. Western civilization had depended on Christianity for its sense of meaning, morality, and purpose. If belief in God disappears, Nietzsche argues, then the moral framework built upon that belief also becomes unstable. This leads to what Nietzsche calls nihilism, the feeling that life has no objective meaning or value. Thus, the proclamation God is dead is not a triumphant celebration, but a warning. Humanity has destroyed its traditional source of meaning, but has not yet found a replacement. Next, Nietzsche's criticism of religion, which focuses particularly on Christianity. He believed that Christianity promoted a morality that suppressed human strength, creativity, and vitality. One of Nietzsche's key ideas is the distinction between master morality and slave morality. According to Nietzsche, master morality originates among strong, confident individuals who value power, excellence, and self-affirmation. Slave morality, by contrast, develops among the weak and the oppressed. Instead of celebrating strength, it condemns it and praises humility, obedience, and meekness. Nietzsche believed Christianity emerged from this second type of morality. In The Antichrist, he writes, "What is more harmful than any vice? Active pity for all the failures and all the weak. Christianity." For Nietzsche, Christianity turns weakness into a virtue. Traits such as humility, submission, and self-denial become moral ideals, while power, ambition, and pride are treated as sins. He also criticizes the Christian concept of equality. Nietzsche believed that Christianity teaches people to see all human beings as equal before God, but he thought this idea suppressed natural differences in ability and strength. Nietzsche therefore argues that Christian morality arises from resentment, a psychological reaction of the weak against the strong. Instead of openly opposing those with power, the weak create a moral system that condemns power itself. In this way, Nietzsche believed Christianity had shaped Western culture in ways that discouraged human excellence and creativity. The third central element of Nietzsche's critique is his belief that religion encourages people to reject the world as it is. Christianity in particular emphasizes salvation in another world, heaven, rather than fulfillment in this life. Nietzsche believed this outlook leads people to devalue earthly existence. In Also sprach Zarathustra, he writes, "Remain true to the earth, and do not believe those who speak to you of otherworldly hopes." Here Nietzsche argues that religious belief directs human attention away from life on earth and towards a supernatural realm. For Nietzsche, this attitude represents a denial of life. Instead of embracing the world with all its suffering and complexity, religion encourages people to seek escape from it. He believed this rejection of earthly life was deeply unhealthy. Human beings, in Nietzsche's view, should affirm existence rather than condemn it. Thus, his critique of religion is also a critique of life-denying philosophies. Nietzsche believed that once belief in God disappears, Western civilization faces a profound crisis. Traditional morality had been justified by religion. If God no longer exists as a source of authority, then those moral rules lose their foundation. The death of God leaves humanity in a situation where the old values have collapsed, but new ones have not yet been created. Nietzsche believed that Europe had not yet fully recognized the consequences of this event. Even though belief in God was still declining, people still lived according to the moral ideals that originally came from Christianity. For Nietzsche, this situation could not last forever. Eventually, humanity would have to confront the existence of any absolute moral foundation. However, Nietzsche did not see such nihilism as the final stage of human development. He believed it was a transitional crisis. Nietzsche did not merely criticize religion, he also sought to imagine what might replace it. If humanity can no longer rely on divine authority, then human beings must take responsibility for creating their own values. In the Madman passage, Nietzsche suggests that the magnitude of this task. Must we ourselves not become gods simply to seem worthy of it? Now, this doesn't mean that humans literally become divine. Rather, it means that humanity must take on the role previously attributed to God, the creation of meaning and value. Nietzsche's concept of Übermensch, the overman, Superman, represents this possibility. The Übermensch is an individual who creates new values and affirms life without relying on religious authority. Instead of obedience to divine commandments, Nietzsche emphasizes creativity, self-overcoming, and the affirmation of existence. In this way, Nietzsche's philosophy can be seen as an attempt to rethink morality after the collapse of traditional religious beliefs. Interestingly, Nietzsche did not entirely reject the human impulse towards religion. He believed that human beings have a powerful tendency to create values, ideals, and symbols that function almost like gods. At one point, he even suggests the possibility of new forms of divinity, writing that the God-forming instinct can express itself in many different ways. This suggests that Nietzsche did not simply want to abolish religion altogether. He wanted to transform humanity's relationship with values, creativity, and with meaning. Rather than worshipping a transcendent God, humanity might create new cultural ideals that affirm life and human potential. Nietzsche's view of religion is complex and often misunderstood. His philosophy is not simply a rejection of a belief in God, but a deep analysis of the role of religion has played in shaping Western civilization. First, Nietzsche argued that modern culture is experiencing the death of God, meaning that the belief in the Christian God had lost its credibility. Secondly, he criticizes Christianity for promoting a morality that glorifies weakness, discourages excellence, and directs human attention away from life on earth. Finally, Nietzsche believed that humanity must confront the consequences of this loss of faith by creating new values and new ways of affirming life. His philosophy, therefore, represents both a critique of religion and a challenge to humanity. If the old foundations of morality have collapsed, then human beings must take responsibility for creating meaning themselves. As Nietzsche's madman asks, how shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? The question still remains central today. If traditional religious frameworks have disappeared, what will replace them? Nietzsche believed the answer lies not in returning to the past, but in the creative power of human beings to shape new values and new possibilities for life. Thank you.